Jack Osborne's recent plunge into the wild, untamed heart of the Australian outback has become more than just another celebrity escapade. It's a poignant chapter in his ongoing story of resilience and raw emotion. At 40 years old, the television personality, forever etched in the public's mind as the rebellious son from the iconic reality series that captured the chaotic glamour of rock royalty, has stepped into the spotlight of a survival show known for its grueling challenges and unfiltered moments. This isn't merely about enduring creepy crawlies or meager rations. For Jack, it's a deliberate immersion into a world of camaraderie and competition that serves as an unexpected balm for a wound still fresh and aching. The loss of his father, the legendary Prince of Darkness himself, has cast a long shadow over his life, and now, in the midst of vines and campfires, he's finding unexpected ways to honor that legacy while forging ahead. The timing of this adventure couldn't be more bittersweet. Just 4 months prior, the family had gathered in quiet devastation as Ozzy's long-fought battle against Parkinson's disease came to its inevitable, heart-wrenching end. The rocker, whose voice had growled through decades of anthems that defined heavy metal, left behind a void that echoed through the lives of those who loved him most. Jack, who had navigated his own turbulent path through addiction, health scares, and the relentless glare of fame, found himself thrust into a role he never anticipated, grieving publicly while the world watched. Entering the jungle camp, with its rudimentary shelters and relentless humidity, felt like a leap into the unknown, a place where vulnerability could either consume you or catalyze growth. And for Jack, it has been the latter, a space where laughter mingles with tears, and the simple act of sharing stories under the stars begins to mend what feels irreparably broken. From the very first days in the camp, Jack's openness has been both startling and inspiring. Picture this: a circle of fellow adventurers, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of a campfire, leaning in as Jack's voice cracks with the weight of unspoken sorrow. He recounts the shock of his father's passing, how it hit like a thunderclap in the midst of what seemed like an endless fight. "It still feels so fresh," he admits, his eyes glistening as he describes the disbelief that gripped the family. The campmates, a diverse tapestry of personalities from comedians to soap stars, respond not with pity but with the kind of genuine empathy that only shared hardships can foster. It's in these moments, raw, unscripted, that Jack begins to unpack the layers of his grief. He speaks of Ozzy not just as the larger-than-life icon who terrorized stages worldwide, but as the flawed, fiercely loving father who taught him the value of perseverance through his own unyielding spirit. One particularly moving exchange unfolds with a campmate whose warmth radiates like a hearth in the chill of the night. As they huddle together, Jack imagines his father glued to the television back home, a mischievous grin on his face as he cheers on his son's exploits. "He would have watched every second," Jack says with a wistful smile, recalling Ozzy's bemused take on the whole endeavor. The rocker, ever the skeptic of anything that didn't involve guitars or excess, had once quipped about the absurdity of voluntarily subjecting oneself to such trials. Yet in Jack's retelling, there's a tenderness that underscores the bond they shared, a father who, despite his larger-than-life persona, rooted for his kids in the quietest ways. This reflection isn't just cathartic for Jack, it ripples through the group, reminding everyone that beneath the glamour and grit, they're all navigating their own invisible battles. But grief, as Jack is rediscovering, isn't a solitary burden. It's something that lightens when shared, especially among souls who bring levity to the heaviest days. His wife, speaking from afar with the insight of someone who's weathered the storms alongside him, highlights how these newfound friendships are acting as lifelines. She describes the campmates as kind, warm souls, whose humor cuts through the fog of sorrow like sunlight-piercing clouds. In a season of life marked by loss, these connections feel like gifts, unexpected allies who laugh at the right moments and listen without judgment at the others. Jack's competitive fire, honed from years of pushing limits in front of cameras and in personal recoveries, finds an outlet here too. He thrives on the challenges, viewing them not as punishments but as proofs of his endurance, much like the battles his father faced on stage and off. The physical demands of the jungle amplify this emotional odyssey in ways few could predict. Take for instance the infamous Bush Tucker trials, those pulse-pounding gauntlets designed to test the mettle of even the hardiest souls. Jack's debut solo challenge is the stuff of legend. Submerged in chambers teeming with writhing eels, snapping mud crabs and slimy toads, he dives with a determination that borders on defiance. The clock ticks mercilessly, 2 minutes per chamber, 12 stars to unearth from hidden hatches. Nerves jangle as he plunges into the murky depths, but what emerges is a performance of sheer willpower. In a blur of bubbles and grit, he secures every last star, shattering records and leaving his hosts in awe. "The man's a machine," one exclaims, half joking about Olympic prospects, while the other marvels at lungs that seem forged for such feats. Jack surfaces not just victorious, but invigorated, declaring the ordeal fun, with a grin that speaks volumes about his unyielding spirit. This triumph isn't isolated. It's part of a pattern where Jack transforms adversity into affirmation. Viewers, glued to their screens, witness a man who shed not just pounds from the sparse camp fare but layers of armor he's carried for years. The weight loss, while dramatic, brings its own comedic woes, like the chafing that turns sitting on logs into a comedic torture, prompting whispers of smuggling in comforts from the outside world. Yet even in these lighter moments, there's a thread of authenticity that ties back to his core journey. Jack's time in the jungle is a microcosm of his life, messy, challenging, and ultimately redemptive. It's a place where he can honor his father's memory by living boldly, laughing freely, and leaning on others without shame. Reflecting broader on Jack's path, one can't help but trace it back to those formative years under the Osborne spotlight. The reality show that catapulted the family to infamy was a whirlwind of antics and affection, capturing the essence of a household where chaos coexisted with deep loyalty. Alongside his sister, Jack navigated the highs of fame and the lows of scrutiny, all while his parents modeled a love that was as tumultuous as it was true. Ozzy's illness had already reshaped their world, turning private worries into public vigils, but his passing marks a definitive pivot. Now, in the jungle's embrace, Jack is scripting a new narrative, one where grief doesn't define him but fuels his fire. His campmates become surrogate family, their shared trials a metaphor for life's unpredictability.